On Planet Trump, anything less than complete and full-throated fealty is an insult, sometimes even a fireable offense. It doesn't matter how many facts or figures support what you're saying. If you criticize the boss, you're in trouble. So we're left wondering today if federal budget director Mick Mulvaney is looking over his shoulder just a little bit. The New York Times obtained a recording of Mulvaney and RNC chairwoman Ronna McDaniel speaking to party officials and donors at a recent closed-door event in New York City. They were reportedly confident in the right's ability to turn back a blue wave, but their discussion wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Quote, Mr. Mulvaney suggested Republicans would fare better if they could subtract the president's divisive persona. We'd all fare better. Divisive persona from voters' minds and stress instead that the country is in pretty good condition. He also alluded to Senator Ted Cruz without mentioning his name as a lawmaker who might lack the charm to win a contested. This is hilarious. Joining us now is A.B. Stoddard, associate editor and columnist for Real Clear Politics. So let's see. If Ted Cruz could be charming and Donald Trump could not have a screwed up personality, everything would be fine. Well, I'm with Mick Mulvaney on that. Oh, it's ridiculous.
Mick Mulvaney is very slick. I mean, what he said was actually not that bad, if you think about it.
He said if Ted Cruz wasn't odious and Donald Trump wasn't crazy, we'd all be fine.
No, but he didn't say, look, everyone hates Trump. You know, I mean, he stepped
he said
around
basically
it.
if you remove his personality, it would be fine.
Well, yes. What
Put it up again. Let me make sure I'm not missing
candidates to not to avoid the discussion of him being
of
divisive and controversial and to focus on the economy. That's what they're all trying to do, with no help from the president.
There were babies in cages 2 months ago.
I know, but that's this is what they always say, and this is what they're trying to continue to juice donors with, which is that. The economy is so buoyant, we are going to reverse historical trends and not lose in the midterms. It's not realistic. It's if you look at all of the issues, and you just named one of them, the family separation issue is a huge one. Health care is the #1 issue the Democrats are running on. And then there's President Trump. And they know that. But I also think it's interesting that Ronna McDaniel and everyone who works in the Trump administration, especially the ones who are at that evangelical leader dinner, should know that Republicans are turning on Republicans and recording these events.
That's exactly right. Let me ask you, too, though, on this idea of the midterms being anything other than something that is just historically very likely to go the direction of the Dems. In 2010, I think the Democrats lost dozens of seats with the generic ballot that looked much stronger. I think there was some polling out today in Axios that had the figures and sort of the fundamentals in 2010 when Democrats lost, I think, 4 or 5 dozen seats. They had fewer seats up. President Obama had a higher approval rating, and the generic ballot was half of what the advantage is for Democrats this year.
And fewer retirements. Right, all those variables are worse if you look at it. The one thing Republicans have going for them besides the economy, if people are only going to vote on the economy, is that their voters are motivated in midterms. They're older, more conservative, and whiter electorates. And President Obama's coalition didn't turn out in 10 or 14, and he lost badly. And that has to change. I mean, if young people and voters of color are going to turn out, then God help the Republicans. But if it's going to be a traditional midterm electorate, Republicans could actually hold on.
There is no one, this is just point of personal privilege, there's no one more disliked in the Republican sort of circles than Ted Cruz. I mean, just people don't like him. It's like that dating thing. People are just not into him. To hear Nick Mulvaney, who is a right-winger's right-winger, say, the unlikable guys might lose. I mean, that's remarkable. Is that race really in reach for Beto O'Rourke?
Yeah, there's no need to fact-check the Ted Cruz may not be that charming statement. Unless you wanted to quote The Princess Bride, which he's very good at. I think there is some concern in that state. I mean, I think Ted Cruz has still got to be considered the favorite there. This is still Texas. It would require a lot of new voters to turn out to back the Democratic candidate to beat him. But I think the fact that it's even on the Republicans' radar shows you the state.
It's on Nick Mulvaney's radar.
And the president has tweeted that he's going to go down there and have a rally for Ted Cruz sometime in October.
They're doing an intervention.
election.
Right.
Like it's not just the president, it's the Republican Party, it's the Kochs, it's the donors, because Beto O'Rourke is outraising him hand over fist. This is something that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago, that Ted Cruz would be in any position where he'd need to be rescued by the National Party.
And it shows you the state of play nationwide.
And to your point, if there's anyone who could bring new voters into the fold, he has that thing. He has it, whatever it is. If there's a race that's going to defy the odds of a state like Texas, this seems to be said race.
Every race, Nicolle, we talk about the ticking demographic time bomb, and we look at a few states. Texas is the one that people are always most skeptical about. We're looking at other states like Georgia, like Nevada, like Arizona, but the fact that we are in this cycle talking about Texas, I think, is really a testament to, one, a very good candidate, but two, the fact that this demographic trend is starting to become a reality.
Yeah, I want to ask you though, this can't end without going back to Nick Mulvaney saying if you take away the president's personality. I mean, I'm not sure what else there is. He has no policy acumen. Right. He isn't briefed on the intel threats facing the United States of America. Other than his Twitter feed, what else is his presidency other than a cult of his personality?
Right, and that's all it is. It's symbolic. And Mulvaney is like that person who's dieting. It's like, if you take the calories and the sugar out of this cake, it's still healthy for me. No. Like, if the president we all say that. If the president doesn't really have anything to offer, if you look at the contrast between Obama finally rolling out this weekend and the enthusiasm versus the desperation of a sitting party with a great economy saying we've got to deploy the president for someone like Ted Cruz, who he doesn't like and whom Ted Cruz shouldn't respect him. That's the danger that I think the Republican Party is facing. But also I think at this point, you're starting to see levels of fear that were unheard of just a couple of months ago. Georgia wasn't supposed to be in play. They're still tied. That's insane for Georgia. You've got Florida that's now in play. You've got places that previously the Republicans thought we can lock this up and we can put our money in other places. If they've got to fight all over the map for the next 55 days, they're in trouble. There's no way you can cover that much ground.
All right, Heidi, thank you so much. It's so great to see you at the table. When we come back, the two-track government in action.